All right. Good Friday evening, everyone. Hey, hey, hey. It
Hey.
is Dr. Jonathan Shepherd here. I am so glad to see so many of you all on a Friday evening. And
Yeah.
thank you for joining us wherever you may be in your homes, at your job, in your car. I sure hope you're not watching us as you're driving, but I know people do that.
Let's
So
hope not.
I, I wouldn't put it past anyone. I've seen some crazy things while people are driving. I've seen people actually drive, trying to shave and um, and
Shame.
eating out of a one of those dinner boxes, and and so, yeah. I don't see how they could do it. I'm not that talented. To be able to do all that. But again, welcome on this particular day.
Welcome.
So glad to see you all out here. Hope that you all are safe. Hope that you are staying well and healthy. This has been such a
Yeah.
tremendous week, and I'm sure, I'm sure Erica and I will talk a little bit about this week. Just want to mention again Hope Health Systems, which is our sponsor for this particular broadcast. That is the job or the organization that I work for, serve as chief medical director there, and enjoy what I do there. And as I say, many weeks we'll do you some good if you come on over. Direct Care Services, and so just wanted to uh, mention that right now. This has just been such a week, Erica. And
Actually, yes.
I have Erica Draza here, um, who has come on with me for the last six times now, six seven times.
Yes.
For other
It's been
colleagues,
a lot of fun.
yeah, with her other colleagues, she run a little bit late. Yeah, I want to throw her under the
I have a
bus.
reason. I have a reason though.
Oh, what is your reason? What's your reason?
Well, I had to escape and I am in Puerto Rico.
Whoa.
So yes.
Yeah. So this podcast goes to the Caribbean.
That's right.
Yes.
We're in the Caribbean.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord. So, we can talk a little bit about that. The need to escape. The need to escape. Now,
Yes.
actually, that really is real talk because we've talked a little bit about this even last week on the show about travel during the pandemic. And travel has just been such a crucial subject right now because we have the holidays coming. Next month is
Right.
Thanksgiving. The month
Mhm.
after that, we have Hanukkah, we have Christmas. So many of the religious traditions and just the family traditions that we celebrate are going to be taking place. And we're normally doing it with family, and family is spread
Right.
abroad. So much travel, subjects about the travel, what's safe. So, Erica, tell us a little bit just about your travel experience. I'm sure people want to hear.
Yes, people probably do want to hear. So yes, I'm actually in a conference. Usually, Jonathan, Dr. Shepherd, Dr. Griffin, and I. This is the week where we always see each other at the American Academy for Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Conference, which was supposed to be held in San Francisco.
Right.
Well, due to COVID, of course, it was transitioned into a virtual conference, and one of my friends, who's a primary care doctor, said that she was also doing a virtual conference this week. We said, well, why don't we just do it in another place? We are both itching to get away. And as we all know, COVID is here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So we thought, okay, what would be a safe place to go to? And also, how can we get there safely? So that, of course, was the number one priority. And Puerto Rico, given that it's a U.S. territory, we were hoping, okay, if any shenanigans go down and the country shuts down, at least we're still within the United States. So that's number one. Number two, they actually had noticed a trend with all of their COVID cases going up over the summer once they opened up to everyone. So they actually shut that down and said, okay, if you want to come to Puerto Rico, you need to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of traveling to Puerto Rico. So we had to get COVID tests. That's a whole nother story. My first COVID test came back inconclusive. The sample wasn't good enough, even though they touched my soul during that COVID test. So I got 3 COVID tests, and they were all negative, and that was how we were able to come. The airport, was interesting. It's very quiet. There weren't that many people in the airport, and it's just really weird. But understandable given COVID. And then once we got to Puerto Rico, they checked to see, we had to fill out a travel declaration form to make sure we had no exposures. They checked our temperature, they checked our test results, and then we were able to enter the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. And since we've been here, I mean, they are on top of it. I get a text message every day asking if I've been exposed to COVID, if I'm having any kind of COVID symptoms. They make sure, I mean, right now, hopefully they won't see me, but we're supposed to have a mask on at all times, even if there's no one around us. Even if you're on a beach in public and there's no one around you, out in fresh air, you have to have a mask on.
Wow.
So they are not playing any kind of games. They are like, this is real. We are taking it seriously. Every restaurant, every store, they take a temperature, they give you hand sanitizer, they ask you questions. I mean, the level of monitoring, I have not experienced this in United States proper, continent of the United States at all. I mean, Puerto Rico, they are really doing a great job. So
wow,
that's where we are. Wow. And I was just watching a beautiful sunset. Hence, it looks a little dark here, starting to shift a little bit. It was a little brighter when we first joined, but yeah, it's really beautiful. The temperature is amazing. It's just a nice place to get away. So, yeah.
All right, now don't be on there throwing some dirty comments at her because you're all jealous.
No. It's, you're welcome. Come.
Yeah, I tell you, this is awesome. Thank you for sharing your travel adventure because it's going to help somebody. But isn't that something how in the territories, they seem to have got it together more than we do on the mainland? Yeah, that tells you something,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that tells you. And actually, that's going to lead into some of our discussions that we're going to have on today. We're entitling this session, let's just chop it up. Let's talk about
let's chop it up. Let's chop it up.
So there's just so many different things we got to talk about today. But that travel experience was actually very, very important. So just transitioning here, in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now, we will be voting. I'm sorry. We will have completed our voting.
Yes.
Completed our voting. Already.
Did you vote yet, Dr. Shepard?
I have not voted yet. I wanted to do it in person. That was the decision I made. I wanted to do it early in person. So I will be voting next week if my schedule allows. And if not, then I will just do it on November the 3rd. I wanted to do it in person. I just particularly, that's just my thing. Hopefully everyone out there, you have voted. And again, this show is not to tell you who to vote for. This show is just to enlighten. I call myself the chief myth buster. And so that's what we do.
You really are.
We bust up any myth. We shed light on any issue that needs to be shed or brought to our attention. And so I really, really enjoy that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the debate that occurred, just some of the other things that occurred this past week. Did you watch the debates?
I was planning on not watching the debate initially because I thought, okay, I'm in Puerto Rico. I should be enjoying myself. I already voted. So I voted with my mom, which was pretty amazing because she's been a Florida resident since I was, in high school, and I moved away from Florida at the age of 17. So now that we're both here in North Carolina, it was pretty cool to be able to vote together, and we did. And, because she has some health concerns, things like that, they were able to do it curbside. and they
Oh,
brought the
wow.
ballot right to her, which
Wow.
was amazing. The wait was like, there was no wait. There was no wait at all. There's an app in Durham, North Carolina, where you can see all of the locations for early voting, and you get to determine, okay, who has a long wait list,
Mm.
what's the status of the line. So I found a place that was, zero wait time. They brought the ballot to her. I was like, okay, you can't bring me the ballot. They were like, ma'am, do you have any pre-existing conditions? And I was like, oh, okay, no. They were like, you
Uh,
could go inside. There's no line. So we did it very quickly. So I had no intention of watching, but then you know how it is. It's like, it's going down and you can't help but to watch. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch just to see, just to be relevant. And I did, and I was, we try to be impartial on these podcasts. But I will say I was very proud of one candidate, and another candidate I was not so surprised to see what I saw. Oh. So it was very, oh, here comes Dr. Griffin. It was a very, I will say it was, I thought there would be more usage of the mute button, but there wasn't. But it was a very interesting debate. And it's very interesting because I think so many people think that, when they talk about Black issues, it's really interesting to see what was highlighted as a Black issue. And criminal justice, yes, I think that's important and we all need to discuss that. But I was like, wow, the one moment we talk about issues regarding Black people, we're talking about criminal justice. Yes, that is important and we have to discuss it. But there are a lot of issues that impact Black people. Black Lives Matter is a huge, huge movement. And I think so much of it is overlooked and boiled down to very trivial sorts of things. So I was surprised yet not surprised to hear how Black Lives Matter was discussed at last night's debate. So very interesting. I'd be curious to see how you all felt about the debate as well. But I thought it was, I was like, okay. Every time we talk about Black people, we're talking about criminal justice, which is interesting. Yes, it's important, but there are a lot of issues that impact us.
Absolutely.
And we have to make sure that we talk about all of the issues. Let's talk about racism. I don't think that was truly ever addressed, even though the question was asked multiple times about racism and how to deal with that in the United States and how to address it. That question to me was totally overlooked. There were a lot of opportunities to really go dig deep.
Yeah.
That were missed.
Let me properly introduce, and we're going to go right back there. But let me properly introduce our esteemed friend. Yes, she made her arrival.
Yes, she did.
Oh, goodness.
She
Let me
made
tell
her
y'all
arrival.
about internet troubles. Goodness.
Yes, Lord. Okay, all right. Blame on the internet. No. Oh, I'm
To
gonna
be
give her
fair,
just a
she's
little.
been talking about her internet issues all week. So
All right, I will let her, because she likes to give me a hard time on here. So I'm just giving just a little bit, just a little bit. So Dr. Marilyn Griffin is back with us. But let me, and I'm sure you may want to jump in, Marilyn. But they had the first Black female moderator since 1992.
yes.
So it's interesting that you brought that up regarding how criminal justice was attached on to Black people or to that segment when there was a Black moderator. So I'm a little bit confused by that. So I don't know if you want to address that, Marilyn, because that don't sit too well with me. You bringing it up like that. I didn't see it as that, truthfully. But you're kind of highlighting that. You had any thoughts about that, Marilyn?
Well, I would say I didn't really pick up on that either, Dr. Draza, that the conversation and the answers to the questions immediately went to the criminal justice system. But I will say I think it was wonderful to see the moderator and that she did I think she did a pretty good job. As others have expressed, I don't know if she had access and control of the microphone mute button or not, but whoever did, probably could
They
have
didn't use it.
utilized that function a little bit more throughout the debate. But I will say there was the question. There was a question, I think, specifically about institutional racism that wasn't answered by one of the candidates.
Yes.
And I was a little disappointed that the moderator didn't, Kristen Welker, didn't go back and say, well, candidate, can you answer the question?
I don't think we're not just endorsing which candidate, but please say the name. Yeah, we don't have to walk on eggshells like that.
He said, 45. Look, she still won't say a name.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
Donald Trump. So Donald Trump didn't answer. He didn't answer the question. Right. And I believe Biden, gave a response to the question, but he was also responding to Trump's response. And so we saw a lot of that in the first debate, right? Nobody really answered any of the questions, and they were just going back and forth. Right. So, I mean, at least we got some answers, and it wasn't such a circus as it was before, because the moderator did, she did a pretty good job. I was wondering why they didn't have Savannah do it after she moderated the town hall.
Yeah.
Well, I think, especially again, you being a Black woman asked that question. I think that this is a year where, magnifying the Black woman, putting them in places where they have not always succeeded. And so I think that we want to make sure that this year, Kamala Harris being nominated as the vice president, Democratic vice presidential nominee. I'm not sure my word's not coming out as easily as you could. That's because I'm a little bit distracted by something I hear in the background. But I tell you, this is really the year of the Black woman. We want to make sure that magnify that we're lifting them up because as I talk about, they're hit on so many different ends in addition to racism, to sexism. And so I agree. There's some comments already in the chat, that she had good control of the debate form. I thought she actually did. And that, regarding the issues that we deal with as Black people, a lot of people like to distort them. Just pull them out of what they should be. They pull them out into something that they're not. And so I was really taken aback by some of the things that we were said regarding children. I'm shifting just a little bit here. And I've even put a post about this today. It breaks our hearts as child adolescent psychiatrists. All three of us are trained in child adolescent psychiatry, and we're going through our week of conferences right now. And to know that at least 545 children do not know where their parents are. I can't even imagine. And let me tell you, that's just a guess. There's probably more than that. There's always
absolutely.
545 parents and
children.
Children. It's times two, because for more parents don't know where their children are. That is just, oh man, heartbreaking. If you could imagine that. And it just, as you're watching this, it just, your heart bleeds. And let me tell you, and I don't want to digress too much here because I want you to comment on this. But I want to also make mention that with all this said, it has caused a level of stress and anxiety that I don't think has ever been reached for election before. They call it election stress disorder, ESD. And it is a disorder that I first learned about through the New York Times, just reading, and I agree with it. And so many people have heightened anxiety. So let me go back though to the children. So with just hearing all the different things that we heard yesterday in preparation for the election, it just grips your heart. It saddens you.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I mean, I think for me, it was very clear that there was a lack of empathy in terms of these families and these children who have been legitimately traumatized. I mean, to be pulled apart from your family and be shuffled through a system, and what we've heard as psychiatrists, some of these kids have not been placed in any kind of humane conditions. Some of them being forced to take medicines, antipsychotic medications, because they're emotional and they're crying, and of course experiencing legitimate PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms of all of a sudden being pulled away from your caretaker. I mean, it is criminal. That was the word that was used last night. And I actually 100% agree. These are children who are being ripped from their families, shuffled through a system. They don't know who's taking care of them. Nightmares. Can you imagine the emotional toll it's taking on these children and their families? It's, as a child psychiatrist, it just absolutely breaks my heart. And I don't understand why there aren't more organizations who are condemning us as a country for the maltreatment of these children and adolescents who've been ripped from their families. I mean, it's really, I can't even wrap my mind around it. That's how traumatizing it is. So the fact that people can look upon it and say, well, they're well taken care of, they're okay, if you were to see the conditions, and to make light of it and to say that they're brought to the States by coyotes. I mean, I honestly, I was speechless. I was honestly speechless. How do we have no compassion for these children and these youth? No compassion, no empathy to say that they were brought to the United States by coyotes and that we're doing the best that we can, even though they have not been unified with their families. That to me is criminal. It is absolutely criminal. No other way to explain it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
someone said must it all.
Right. Somebody said, Trump said the children are kept in a beautiful and clean condition.
Right.
Yet they won't let the reporters see those conditions,
right.
And there have been people who have done undercover work who have shown those spaces, and they are not clean. They are not beautiful. These kids are not being taken care of. I don't know. I think as a child, I feel helpless. I don't know what to do to even intervene. How do we intervene? How do we just call this out for what it is? That it absolutely is criminal.
It made me think, we need to call DCFS on our government, basically, right? We need Child Protective Services to step in and do
absolutely.
Something. And like you said,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's criminal. I agree with that also. This is a criminal situation, and the impact that this is going to have on the lives of these children, as they continue to grow. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And not only, the children, but just the family unit in general, how these parents, who have been wondering where their children are, how they're doing, it's equally sad when you think about them and having their children taken away from them.
That's right.
And like you said, for those that the lack of empathy, just think, what if that was your family member?
Exactly.
That was taken away.
Yeah.
Just for a moment, think about how that could feel.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, let me just say this. Even if they were in beautiful and well-kept conditions, and they were in a mansion.
That's right. Call it.
Still be traumatized.
That's
Let's be clear about that.
Let's be real. That's right. That level of attachment. That's right.
Right. Living conditions have nothing to do with the well-being of a child. All right. Now I know,
and the need to have the a parent around for that
absolutely
nurturing environment, right? And to have that guidance.
Absolutely. We can look story after story. We can look at those children who have been adopted, those children who were orphaned, And again, they could have been brought into our environment where it was nice and clean, and well kept. But if there was not a person who cared for them there, who would show them and direct them and to guide them as to the way to go, then those conditions would not have even mattered. And
That's
so
right.
I just want to be clear on that. To come back with something like that has no bearing. And every child and adolescent psychiatrist, any person who works with children, should have been horrified when they heard that response. So yeah, it is causing so much anxiety. That's where I was leading with this election stress disorder, and because we recognize that it may not be over on November 3rd, that it is perpetuating. Also, and I want you all to comment on this. People haven't got over what happened in 2016. There was such a letdown from what people expected to happen that people are nervous right now, and they should be nervous because we don't know what could happen. 2016 taught us a real good lesson: never to underestimate your opponent, never to underestimate what could happen. And so because of that, it is just something that we have to make sure that we are aware of, but it's also driving up this anxiety. It's fueling that frustration. It is fueling that discomfort, and not knowing what could happen next in a year when we did not expect this to happen regarding the pandemic.
Right.
In a year where we don't know what could happen next in regards to a vaccine. So, help us out, Marilyn. It's just, how do we relax? How do we cope with this year of the unexpected? What things might you be doing?
That's the $1 million question, Dr. Shepherd. I will say that I am encouraged by the number of early voters.
Okay.
Right. So even though we are terrified of what the outcome may be, and concerned about that, and concerned about voter suppression, concerned about the possibility of contracting the virus while we're going out to vote, but we are still voting. Yep. So I am really, really excited about the numbers that have gone out to the polls already for early voting.
Yeah.
Now, how do we deal with this? Over the next couple of weeks, we have to do the things that are that feel good to us and that we have some control over, right? So our time and our schedules. So maintaining some type of schedule or routine is going to be paramount. And that can be as simple as scheduling meals with your family, three meals a day, around the same time every day, a place to gather with your family, to disconnect from the internet, from social media, from the news media outlets, and just spend that time with your family and your loved ones. And you can talk about some of these fears and anxieties. Create a safe space, especially for children, adolescents, and young adults who may be voting for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good opportunity for the parents to be vulnerable and let them know if they have some worries about this also, so that the children will, and adolescents and young adults will know that it's okay, and we right now will focus on maintaining and creating a safe, loving environment within our homes and within our control, and walk through this together.
So Erica, help me out. Suppose your family gets on your nerves.
Okay. And
I'm just saying,
your
I mean,
family gets
Maryland.
on your nerves and what?
Maryland has, described the perfect family or the ideal family, and some people
Got
do
you.
have that. That is
Okay, sometimes you have to choose your family. Sometimes you have a chosen family, right? So those are your friends. Those are people that you can trust. And we always wish that we can be really close to family members, but for some, especially in the midst of COVID, it may highlight challenges within a relationship, things like that you may have to seek out other sources of support. So really, I think what she's saying can be applied to other sources of support. As long as you are engaging, we talked about social distancing being really important to be safe, but really we're talking about physical distancing, not socially distancing. We really want to maintain those social relationships. So it's being able to be completely open and honest about what's really happening for you, being able to trust those individuals. If you are experiencing anxiety, especially with the news, watching these debates, it's really okay to take a step back. I tell my patients, I don't know about you all, but the topic around this election is coming up so frequently in my interactions with my patients and really leading to panic symptoms and heightened anxiety about, okay, what happens one way or another. With whatever outcome that happens, some people are really frightened and afraid of what could happen, with people getting angry if their candidate doesn't win. Is this going to incite violence? Is there going to be a race war? Lots of fears, lots of what ifs. What if is always a sign that there's probably some anxiety there? What if this happens? What if that happens? People are getting guns at rates that they haven't done in the past. Which is understandable. People are legitimately scared. There has been a lot of gasoline poured on all of the tension that's been going on within our country, and people are just really afraid. And we need an outlet. We need to be able to talk to people about what we're experiencing, those fears that we're experiencing. If we need to pull away from the news, if we need to pull away from the election altogether, to be able to have time as a family, even if that's not a blood family, having time with your chosen family to get the support that you actually need. And if you don't have that, for some people, they don't have that. And they may be introverted. They may not necessarily have really deep connections. Maybe this is a time to reach out to a therapist, to a licensed professional that you can talk to process everything that's going on. This is a very difficult time in our history. And we can't hold it all within ourselves. We have to have some sort of outlet. So, yes, if you don't like your family, there are other options.
Yeah. So thank you for saying that, because I heard somebody, they didn't put it in the comments, but I can just feel the energy of the people who are on this show and who will go back. And so, first of all, thank you for those who are watching this in the replay. But I want to just say that you are so correct that this is a tough season. And let's add on top of that, this is a time where people, again, don't know when the vaccine will be available. And I do want to touch on that. We've lost loved ones. I just got an alert that the United States surpassed the highest total number of coronavirus infections, 1 day total, that just occurred today. 80.
What was that total?
80. Yeah, I think yesterday or one day this week it was 70,000.
Yeah.
Right. So
every
day it's going up and up. We're breaking our own records.
Yep. 80,000. So to say that we've turned the corner, we may have turned the corner, but it's the corner that's not the way that we want to
direction.
So we can turn a corner, but it's not headed where we need to go. And so that in itself, so I feel the people out there. I feel you. I feel the audience out there. You are stressing. And what we want to let you know is that even through this show, that this show will help to reduce some of the stress, because what are we doing? We're helping to identify. We're helping
right.
to,
You got to name it.
you got to name it, and we also have to make you know that it's okay, and help you to know that it's okay to talk about it. This is not the time to live in silence. This is not the time to be in isolation. This is the time to utilize what we're doing today, social media, for good. We want to make sure that you are well equipped. And then for those people who have faith and who are believers, this is your time also to pray. And so we do not ever want to forget where our comfort and where our strength lies for those who do know the power of prayer. So I'm pulling back out of that. But I'm just telling you, these are stressful times. So let's talk a little bit about this vaccine, because I want to just help people a little bit with some facts. Again, I've been reading, studying. So one of the things I've been pushing, all right, and maybe it might be one of the two of you all, maybe one of the three of us. We need a Black person out front to let our community know when is it safe to take the vaccine. You're going to hear me. I am going to be pushing this. It is okay for others to be out there pushing it. That's great. But we need to have a person who we can look at and recognize and say, I trust him. I trust her. Because if we don't, we can have all the vaccines we want in the world. That don't mean people are going to take it. And that's what really scares me. What also scares me too is because some people think that just because we take a vaccine, that this will be the end of the coronavirus. And so far, that has not played out in the research, in the testing. What I want people to know, and I'm talking a bit more than I normally would, because I'm so passionate about this particular thing. But for the FDA, for the vaccine to be considered efficacious or effective, it only has to be 50% effective. 50%.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Dr. Shepherd? 50%. Well, you know what 50% means.
Yeah.
That means the other 50%, man, that they're not covered. So, so what do you mean by it's not covered? So when you take the vaccine, you have maybe a 1 or 2 chance that you might still get the coronavirus. Wait a minute, Doctor. I thought that this was going to be the cure-all. Who said that? And I'm not being. I ain't trying to come poo-poo on your parade. But again, I told Marilyn, you missed it. I want to make sure that people know I'm the chief myth buster, because people out there thinking that we get the vaccine and it's all over.
Then it's going to disappear.
Right. It's just going to, poof, be gone.
Right. And I mean,
for some people are already acting like it's gone.
Very true. Some people are. But, I think you can think about this as you would the flu vaccine, right?
Yes.
The flu still comes every year, right? We know that there are different strands, and we're learning that, there's different strands, or I think they're saying at least 2 strands of the coronavirus. And so when we want everybody, right, to take the flu vaccine every year, and every year they come up with the appropriate ingredients to fight against the strand that they are predicting will be, will affect people that year. But they don't always get it right. Our scientists don't always get it right. And we know that there's a group of people that say, well, I am never getting the flu vaccine again. I got it one time and I was so sick. There is no way I'm taking it again. So, you have your reasons. But I also think that what if you hadn't taken it? Your illness may have been even worse and even more prolonged. So, I mean, there's a lot of controversy, if I would dare to say, around the development of a vaccine for coronavirus, and even if it's going to cause immunity. We don't know that. For the people that have already been infected by the virus. Initially, they were saying they probably won't get it again, but we know that there are some cases where people have been reinfected
Yeah.
by the coronavirus. So there are a lot of questions,
Yeah.
a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And even if, a vaccine is developed and is starting to be distributed, that still doesn't mean that we're in the clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I just want to say, go ahead, Erica. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say one of the things that I think is also important to highlight is what has happened over the course of the past 8 months with regards to trusting the medical system and the researchers. I mean, when you think about the Black community and our relationship with medicine, there's a lot of mistrust, right? Because we have actually been in clinical trials where we did not give formal consent. We have been taken advantage of sometimes as a people. When you think about Tuskegee and when you think about like HeLa cells, that were taken from Henrietta Lacks, that was not too long ago.
Right.
So I think there was already a mistrust in terms of research when it comes to the Black community. And then when you see what's happened with this administration, how key senior leaders in medicine have been attacked, their characters have been attacked. I mean, Dr. Fauci, who, has written some of the books that we all read in medical school, he is like the person when it comes to infectious disease and internal medicine. And to see how he has been attacked in the media, that has, I think, led to a growing number of people who don't trust research and who don't trust doctors and who are more likely to trust Google than someone who's actually gone to medical school, who's been, training for this for decades. So I think we also have to highlight that. My concern is that we are really creating a bigger divide between individuals and the medical system and the research that's been done. And I think at the end of the day, people are they just may not trust it. And that's understandable given what we're seeing today. But it is a huge, huge problem because I think if we do have a vaccine, it's going to be very important if we want to get this coronavirus under control. But we can't convince people to even wear a mask. I think it's going to be a hard sell, really. I mean, a mask, people are like, oh my gosh, you can get coronavirus from wearing a mask and it's going to cause asthma and breathing problems and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, but doctors and nurses wear masks all day and they're okay. But if we can't convince people to wear a mask because they don't believe in the science, I personally think we are setting ourselves up for failure because it's going to be a really hard sell to get people to invest in taking a vaccine.
Yeah. There's got to be a culture change, and
absolutely
there's got to be a shift. And I'm just promoting, and you're going to hear me saying this several weeks in a row, that we've got to get the Black faces of those who are knowledgeable, such as the two of you all, out there. That's why we do this show, not for notoriety, not for anything of glamour or whatever. We have been afforded the opportunity to provide quality information and content for our people. That is the reason, nothing else. That's why we take this job. And then again, I say us because you all are here consistently each month, to make sure that we are putting out reputable information. With that said, I'm just going to take a couple questions because
real quick before you do that, I want to just highlight, I don't know if people are aware of this, but one of the biggest researchers in coronavirus who's probably come the farthest is a Black woman, a PhD scientist at the NIH. Her name is Kizzmekia Corbett. Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett. She is a graduate of UMBC. She was a Meyerhoff scholar. She is a Black woman, a PhD. Look her up. That vaccine is probably the closest. There are a lot of vaccines, just FYI, for those of you. Every country is working on a vaccine. every pharmaceutical company is working on a vaccine right now. But this woman, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, she has been working on this as her while she was a postdoc. Before coronavirus ever really became a big thing, she had actually already started working on a vaccine. So she is probably the farthest along in terms of developing a vaccine. But that is a little fact you may not know, that is a Black woman
Right.
who may have invented the first vaccine for coronavirus. So check Dr. Kizzy out.
Thanks
How
for
do you,
sharing that, Dr. Dwaza. I had no idea.
how do you spell her last name?
Yes,
I want to make sure that we put
Corbett. So it's Kizzmekia, Kizzmekia. And I think she goes by Kizzy. She's an immunologist, and her last name is Corbett, Corbett. And
okay.
she's one of you may have seen her on the news. She's always standing to Dr. Fauci and all these amazing doctors who are really putting in blood, sweat, and tears to figure this thing out. You know,
Wow.
so that, I mean, I don't think we have any other people who are as, you know, front and center in terms of trying to figure out a vaccine in terms other than Dr. Corbett.
Wow. I put her name in the chat. You all need to look her up. I'm going to be putting her name out. Definitely going to be making sure that people know about her. I did not know about her. So
yes, she's brilliant.
That's what I'm talking about. These segments are for information, for good content. I think my brother's on today, who has been on the show.
Hey, bro.
You all know him.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, he's out here. So he asked a question. Someone else asked a question. Since we're just talking about vaccines, I'll just go in reverse order. He asked a question: will there be multiple vaccines offered at one time? I don't know if anybody. I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't know
it really
the answer
depends
either.
on, yeah, I think it probably depends on who gets there the quickest in terms of the trials. So when we think about trials, there usually are multiple phases of trials. And whoever is farthest along, if they find that it's effective, then they will try to get FDA approval for that trial. So that's really going to depend on who's farthest along, where those stage 3 clinical trials are, where they're actually testing them in multiple groups of people to see the efficiency and effectiveness of this vaccine.
Absolutely.
And I think just to add to that, Dr. Dwaza, people may recall that I think at least 2 of the trials that are out there ongoing now have been paused. And I think they've since then have been able to continue, but because there was some adverse effect that they needed to do a little more investigating into in order to decide if they can continue to proceed with the study. So I think that is, you know, science and research at its best, because there's some checks and balances along the way. They do, even though, as Dr. Shepherd mentioned, the FDA is only requiring a 50% effective rate. I think, you know, these companies are doing the due diligence to make sure that it is not harmful to the individuals that have that are going to enroll or that have enrolled in the studies thus far.
And let me tell you, there have been medications that have come out. We all know this. The 3 of us, we know this. There have been medications that have come out, especially in psychiatry, that we've come to find out after we've administered, they've worked, come to be harmful to the person also.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not be deceived. Let's not be walking around with our eyes closed. And then again, this is open up your eyes. It's not to deter you. I want people to know this is not, these comments are not saying to deter you. It's to enlighten you so that you can make an educated decision. You want to go into this not saying, well, I'm just going to take this because they told me to take it. No, you want to go in with some information. That's why I said it's so important. I'm about to repeat myself. We got to have people who look like us out here selling this item, out here selling this this vaccine, because it's going to be difficult for people to get past all that has happened. There's another question. Will it be safe for people with diabetes and heart conditions to take the vaccine? Again, we may not know the answer to that question. I don't know if anybody take a stab at that.
I think, you know, again, the trials that are ongoing, they are going to look at those things. And that's why it's important to have a good representation of individuals that enroll in these studies, so they'll know how it's going to affect someone with heart disease or someone with diabetes, someone of you know, African descent versus someone of, you know, Caucasian individual versus an Asian individual.
Yeah.
So that information, you know, we won't know until
Absolutely.
the trials are completed.
Yeah.
But I would encourage, and I think that's a great point that you're talking about, Dr. Griffin. I think there are so many people of color, Black people, Indigenous people who don't necessarily participate in trials. That is really, really important, because when we look at genetics, epigenetics, which is how our environment and our genetics can come and combine to yield different kinds of clinical presentations, really important that people of color are represented in the research trials. That way we know, okay, are these things effective for everyone? And when we think about health disparities, oftentimes I think those exist because there aren't enough of us in the clinical trials. So if you hear of a clinical trial in your area, please consider it. Please consider it, because we need more Black people, people of color, to participate in trials, so we know how these treatments can really impact our population.
Right. And we have to know that the coronavirus does affect people who have diabetes a little bit worse, or I'd say like that.
Yes.
Just to keep it, you know,
Higher risk.
They're higher risk, but I'm talking about even the effects of the virus.
Yeah.
And if you study the effects, the long-term effects of the virus, it is known to affect multiple organs, in particular the heart. And so there's a lot of cardiovascular effects, neurological effects,
Kidney.
Yes, it's this
So when you think of it
virus.
that way,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. When you think of it that way, Dr. Shepherd, then it would potentially be more important for those individuals that have these illnesses to take the vaccine if it's going to potentially help to prevent them from getting it, or lessen the degree in which they present with the illness.
Right.
Absolutely.
So individuals that have respiratory illness to take the flu vaccine, right?
Yes, that's
you know
right.
that it's going to worsen your the condition that you already have.
Yes. And there's still so much, you all, that we don't know about this coronavirus. We're learning so much as doctors and researchers. Yes, we're understanding a little bit more about the mortality in terms of coronavirus, but there can be potentially long-term sequelae as a result of coronavirus, long-term cognitive effects, neurological effects, lots of different things that we're finding out for people who survive this thing, who make it, but they're still having lots of complications that can be exacerbated if they have underlying conditions such as diabetes or end-stage renal disease or lung disease,
Right.
you know, COPD, things like that. So we're still learning a ton, but those long-term sequelae can be very, very serious. And we're learning a lot about that still.
Right.
Absolutely.
And there may be other things to come out, you know, as time
Yes.
goes on. So I think
I'm sure there will be.
is right. And that's, you know, one of the beauties, I guess, you know, of medicine. This is lifelong learning.
That's right.
Our learning never stops, because every day we can find out something different about an illness, or, you know, symptoms of an illness that has been around for a long time, but then this new thing comes up.
Right.
So yes, we are learning, and yes, there's still a lot more to learn and to know about the coronavirus, the symptoms, the long-term symptoms, and even this potential vaccine that we're hoping will, you know, will be readily available to us soon.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to bring it to a close here because I dare
That
not.
was so fast.
Yeah, it does go fast. I don't want to shift to another topic, because then we'll be on here another 20 some minutes. But I want to respect our viewers' times, and I want to respect your time too. We are coming live from Chicago. We're coming live from Puerto Rico. San Juan, I'm assuming.
Say what? San Juan.
San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And coming live from Baltimore, Maryland. And so I tell you, this has been awesome. Who would ever thought that we would be able to do what we're doing this time last year? This time last year, we were in Chicago, enjoying each other, fellowship for our ACAP conference, which is still going on. So if we have any ACAP conference attendees out there, greetings. Who would have told me last year at this time I'll be hosting a podcast, two weekly podcasts, and Marilyn and Erica would be monthly hosts. They're really, because they do try to run stuff. Monthly guests.
No, Dr. Shepard, don't be putting us out like that.
Let him have
it.
Oh, okay. All right. I will let you know that this has been ongoing for 7 months. All right. All right.
Well, we are just excited that we do have the opportunity and that you have been gracious enough to share your platform with us.
Thank you.
So that we can reach as many people as possible. And like you say, to provide credible information and resources.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So again, I thank Hope Health Systems, my employer, for sponsoring this time. Hope Health Systems, there's the email down below, has been running the entire show. If you are in need of direct care services, if the election is stressing you out and you need to get to direct care services, thank you, Eric.
Text. Right. You can also text. There are all kind of text hotlines.
Get support, people. It's real. Take care of yourselves. Prioritize yourselves. Protect your peace. Protect your peace. Really.
And vote. Go vote.
Vote. Yes. Please vote, y'all. Vote.
That's right. So we're going to do that. And then we're also going to make sure we're staying safe. Wearing our masks, washing your hands, and watching your distance. And let me say this: watch your distance, even in your family gatherings, because it's the small family gatherings that are actually the most notorious spreaders out there of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So be aware of that. Just because you with Aunt Susie and Uncle Joe, don't mean that you're safe from the coronavirus. Okay. So just make sure that even when you're with your family members, you still need to adhere to those guidelines. All right. Wonderful. Thank you all again. Erica, please get home safe. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself. And we're just enjoying it vicariously through you.
Yes, I promise I was safe. I had my N95, I had my goggles, I had a face mask, I had my hand sanitizer, I sanitized my seat on the airplane. I was ready. I'm ready for Corona. Okay.
That's right. Hey, ain't nobody mad at you. I attended a funeral last weekend, and I had never seen. I'm not gonna get into the funeral, but I had never seen where they actually came in and fumigated the air where the people have been standing who had just spoken.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So they were doing that each time a speaker came up or a person sung, because we know that this virus is an aerosol.
Yeah.
So you want to get hooked up. If you're in a place where a house of worship and you're in a place where you know that you're going to be holding conferences where there will be multiple people speaking, you want to get one of those fumigators. And so that you can just sanitize the air, because somebody can come behind you. You want that air to be as safe as possible. So
invest in a HEPA filter. Yes.
So, all right, you all. It's time to go. Thank you all. We'll be talking with you all later. Have a wonderful weekend.
Be safe, everyone.